What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. BTC USD. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. It is the first day of September, the very first day of September, and here we are at $109,000. We've moved up a little bit just to find resistance at prior areas of support, just to find resistance at prior areas of resistance here. At least at the moment, that's the look that we have. I am expecting Bitcoin to kind of proceed with a very slow crawl, as it has been, right? I'm getting with the program now, right? We did assume that this was the low, but finally over here we're assuming we're just going to have a slow crawl down to about $104,000, $105,000, maybe even as low as $102,000. I doubt we get below 100K, but that's the area. This is the path, the trajectory of attack, okay? And it ends right here around the 16th to 17th of September, where that FOMC meeting happens, and they announce that they're cutting rates, which we all know is going to happen. So they're selling into this ahead of time, and then we get the rate cut news. People are going to expect that that's a negative thing, that's going to cause the markets to correct, because I think however many times, it's like the past 4 times in a row that they've cut rates, we have seen the prices drop. But actually, is that true? Is it the last 4 times? Or let me see. Hold on now. Federal Reserve. Interest rates. Hold on now. Let's just see. Let's overlay this. Log, and we'll put it on the monthly time frame real quick. Hold on. Right here, we cut interest rates, and we did move down. So yes, it was the last 4 times, right? We cut interest rates there, and we moved down. We saw the price go down, but we did come up inevitably, right? From here to this point, to the low point, we were up. So that's the one hiccup in my head, is like, well, from the high to the low of where the interest rates dropped, we actually did increase. But that initial start is what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm referring to here, and I think what a lot of people are referring to is whenever you initially drop that first little bit. Sure, yes, we moved up overall, but that initial drop happened right here, right there, and we dropped going into it. But do you see how once the interest rates were cut, once we actually had that cut happen, we started to move up. We dropped into the cut, and then after the cut, we pumped, right? Same thing happening here. Same thing happening here. So, and then if we go back in time before that, I'm pretty sure that any drop that we had, any cut was met by a drop in the price, right? Not any drop, but just in recent history, right? The last like 3 after that, right? You dropped here and you saw a tank, but then we continued to climb, right? Interest rates were bullish in the long term. Interest rate cuts, sorry. Let me throw this on the all-time history index here. Let's see. do 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 do. We're waiting our lives away. Whenever we cut here, as soon as we cut, that's when we started to drop, right? So these are the moments that people are referring to as to why interest rates being cut are bearish in the markets, but ultimately they're actually bullish. Ultimately they really are. It's a quick drop in interest rates that's really bad for the markets, but a slow gradual drop like we've been seeing is not part of the problem. And then we don't have really any other examples. Anyways, you guys. Again, just like the last time, I think we're going to see the prices drop going into the cut, and then after the cut happens, that's when we'll start to see, literally right here, right after the cut happens, we're going to start moving up. Okay, if not even right here, the cut happened right here, and 1 week before that's when we started moving up. So again, we could find support the week before we actually get to our interest rate cuts, in which case maybe we don't find support if we're following this trajectory here. Maybe we don't find support. Come on. At like 102, 104,000, maybe it is at a higher price, but inevitably I think, we're moving up, we're moving down, we're moving up, we're moving down. We're just going to be in this little slow bleed of a range until that event happens. And then once it does happen, going into the end of the month of September, just like the last time we had cuts, I would expect that we do continue to grow for days at a time, for weeks at a time, and we will probably see the most spectacular growth that we've seen all cycle if not all cycle, then since November, right? If not something that's bigger even than what we saw here, something more spectacular than what we saw back in, what is that, March? No, January of 2024 to March of 2024. This time frame here. That was a spectacular run. That was actually the best run that we had all cycle, right? As far as like in the shortest amount of time overall. This run here from a low to a high and this run here from a low to a high, they were smaller than this run that we had back here in November. We moved up a lot more, a lot faster right there, but overall collectively together that was the biggest, most consistent run that we've had. I think we're going to see something like that beginning in the middle of September, going into the end of September and into October, and then if not something similar to that, something bigger, right? We're in that finale phase of the market, so I think things are really about to take off. I don't know how much sense that made. I had a lot of words to get out there, but I meant them all. If you could keep track with my logic there, I feel like it makes a lot of sense, right? So, and here we are, just looking at the evidence in the charts here. It makes sense that we might continue to slowly bleed down. We're not really at an area to find support here, right? We tried, but we didn't do it. We broke through. We had a little bit of volume coming in, and we're continuing to persist lower. If this was an area of support, well, we would have done this, we would have done this, but we're not. We're grinding it out, right? We're even getting wicks to the upside, finding resistance at prior support, which is exactly what we did up here, which is exactly what we did up here each step of the way down. So I very much do believe that we're moving lower, but just slowly. It's not going to be a fast crash. The fast crash was from here to there. That was the fast crash, right? That like week and a half there. If we look at the 1 hour time frame, we start looking at our indicators. Got to pull up the other ones. The RSI is having a hard time getting overbought. You can see rejecting the overbought zone. However, we are getting oversold. We bounced off the 50 here, but look at what we're getting. We've got two. Now we got 30 minutes left in this 1 hour time frame, so who's to say that it doesn't come up and close green? But we've got two candles in a row at the moment that have some pronounced wicks to the upside. It's looking like we're getting a little bit of a reversal here. We're finding resistance at prior points of resistance. We're finding resistance at prior points of support. We cannot get overbought, but we are getting oversold. Even when we're bouncing off the 50 on these stochastics and RSI indicators, we're not getting much off of that. We're still just finding resistance here. So short of a pump that happens within the next 30 minutes, and when I say a pump, it doesn't have to be that big, short of a move that takes us up to like $110,000, or at least above this high between now and, really any candle. Like as long as it happens at all before we move below this low, short of that happening, then I'm maintaining the stance that we are going lower. If we do get above this high here, then it's very possible that we do see, let's see, what would we see from a high to a low? If we can get to prices that are above about $110,000, we likely won't stop until we're at about $111,000. But still there, we would find resistance and come down. That'd be my expectation, okay? And here we are coming up a little bit right now, but just barely, right? We got 30 minutes left. Let's see how this 1 hour closes. Stochastics bouncing off the 50 is definitely nice. You would think that you'd get overbought, but again, this rejection off the overbought zone on the RSI makes me a little hesitant. The MACD, that's neutral. The price is neutral. We're not going to get much off of that. I'm calling for lower prices rather immediately too. 4 hour time frame, 1 hour, 30 minutes left. The RSI is abysmal, absolutely sad. Rejecting the 50 here, where whatever hints of bullishness you have on the 1 hour time frame are just absolutely decimated by this 4 hour time frame. The RSI is immaculately bearish. The stochastics here rejecting the overbought zone. Typically, if you get the blue to come up this high, this fast, and the orange is left behind and you reject like this, that's not a good look. Let's see if we can find an example of that over here, maybe. But it has to be, let's see, we're not seeing anything. Actually, right here, this is a good example of what I'm talking about, except it doesn't go through. This one actually was good for the price, in all fairness. Let's see. Let's see if we can find another example. Sorry, hold on. There we go. Yeah, something like this, right? Typically, whenever you get that large separation, then it brings it down. I mean, inevitably we went higher, but it was just volatility. I don't know. It's the 4 hour time frame. The stochastics and the MACD aren't as reliable, especially when you're moving sideways. So don't weigh in on that too much, right? Same thing with the MACD. Crossing up bullish, sure, but you're not doing much with it, right? This is your bullish cross. This is what you get. Well, guess what? Guess what you do on your bearish crosses, right? We're looking at this. Your bullish crosses, you're like moving sideways. You moved up a little bit, but you're really moving sideways. Your bearish crosses, you're getting lower lows, right? Each bearish cross you've gotten on the MACD has brought you lower lows, and we're not doing much with this green cross here. So we're actually getting higher highs with. Is that lower highs or is that about? I guess that is a higher high. So that's not that big of a problem, but we are finding resistance at prior support. So I'm not a fan of this look. If we were to move higher at all, my expectation would be that the highest we'd go to is about $112,000. Maybe we go to about 112K, and then we move down 111, 112K. I wouldn't be surprised at least if we continue to move down immediately though. And then perhaps we tried higher, right? Maybe what we do is we see like a slightly lower low here, and then we move up to that $111,000 area, something like that, right? Continuing, persisting with this downward sloping trend. If we're looking at this on the daily time frame, stochastics are bearish as hell. The MACD is bearish beyond all belief, and the RSI, again, the idea here is that we've found support in this area plenty of times, right? Support there, support there, support there, support there, and that's what it looked like each time. This time's a bit different, is it not? Right? Closer together, we've got the cluster of lows closer together, right? And not providing as strong of signals afterwards. In fact, weaker and weaker results each time. Makes you think different behavior begets different results, right? We'll probably get into that oversold zone, if not down there. So over the coming days, we've got downward price action at the very least, lower prices to go. Let's see if I can find an example of this, right? Just to show you what I'm talking about. Here, you're holding this area as support, right? You bounced off it, you bounced off it, you bounced off it, you're getting stronger results each time. And then here, you're bouncing off it, but you're not really, like, you're grinding it a lot more. You're still kind of grinding it here, in all fairness, but you're grinding it a lot more here, and you go lower, right? Right. Here, you're rejecting, and here you start doing some different stuff, you break through it. You break through it, right? Or maybe here you start doing some different stuff, you break through it, whatever, however you want to look at that, right? It's not that concrete, not like all the time, but that's a pretty good way of understanding the RSI, I think. If you're looking at the past results and you're getting different results here, different results beget, or different behavior, I guess, begets different results. If we're looking at CoinGlass, I don't have my CoinGlass, I don't have anything pulled up. Coin market cap, CoinGlass. Let's see. Oh, we're waiting patiently. Liquidation map, here we come. Linnea got listed on Hyperliquid today. That typically means you're going to drop. Up 64% over the past 4 hours, though. Hey, that's not bad. Let's see. Especially while Bitcoin's being boring. All right, Bitcoin exchange liquidation map. We do have more longs piled on in the past 24 hours than the shorts, right? Anytime I've seen us move up consistently, when we're at a low point, we do not have more longs outweighing the shorts typically, right? And we've got, it is Monday, but we've got $2.2 billion in longs, about $2 billion in shorts. It could go either way. And again, if we were to clear out these shorts, that would be at about 111K, 112K. We'd clear out most of these shorts. But if we clear out these longs, we're going down to 106K, you guys. We're taking the price lower. And I'm not saying that we get down there today. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if we get down there. We look at the past week, a lot of these longs, all of these longs really get cleared out at 104K, justifying that answer. Of course, the shorts outweigh the longs on the 7-day and the 30-day time frame. But, and I very much do believe there's going to be a reckoning for that. There absolutely will be. But we're so close to these longs. And I don't, just the way that I think of it is if we're continuing to long as we move down, even if the shorts are outweighing the longs, if we're continuing to long at such an unprecedented rate, we clear out these areas and then there's another $2 billion. We clear out these areas, there's another $3 billion or $2 billion. We just keep longing and longing and giving these islands of fuel to the bearish fire. I don't think it's going to stop until the longs look like this, till they're just decimated, till there's no hope, till we're at the low for a day or two. There's no longs piling on. We even move up for a day or two, and there's no longs piling on. People are going short because they're like, aha, this is the lower high. We're going to go lower. Until something like that happens, if we don't have these massive islands here, I think we're just going to keep moving down because that's typically what happens. Now, if there's enough shorts to the upside, especially if there's enough shorts here, it might be appetizing to see a little bit of volatility. Right here, this kind of position of shorts gets cleared out again at that'd be $111,000. We could go up there and then come down. Doesn't mean that we can't do that, but if we were to do that, just here, there's this amount of longs piled on. If we did that, there'd be even more longs piled on and less shorts, so I would assume that would promote more downside. Just because I'm thinking like that doesn't mean it has to happen, but again, looking at all these indicators and kind of compiling that evidence with what we're seeing in the liquidation levels, to me it makes a lot of sense that we would go lower. And if we look at this low to high here, low to high here, what do I know? I've been doing this for 9.5 years now, almost 10 years with technical analysis. But typically, if you find support at the 1414, you come up to this area, typically. And if you are going to go lower, you at least come to this area and then come down, right? But doing this, you're more like consolidating here. it makes me think you're going to the golden ratio, right? Could you go lower than the golden ratio? You know, Bitcoin and a lot of cryptos have been showing respect at their 1886200 area lately, and especially like this year in 2025, I've noticed. So we could go as low as I think 101K to 102K. Not a lot of liquidations down there to be had. Most of them are, you know, right there at that like 105K area, which again is right where our 1618 is. It makes sense to me that we probably stop at about $105,000, but time will tell, right? Kind of right in the heart of this zone overall. It's like the midway point of this overall consolidation phase here. I could see that happening. Let's see. Do we have an example of that even? Right, you did the same thing back here, where you found support. It was like the collective midpoint of this consolidation phase here, right there above prior resistance, right here, prior resistance here, prior support right there, kind of the midway point. Just because that happened before doesn't mean it has to happen again, but it does line up with the 1618, and that does line up with our liquidation levels. And if we were to continue to drop going into this FOMC meeting on the 16th or 17th, you know, I would think that it doesn't happen like this. We're probably not going to see it happen just overnight, but it's probably going to be this like slow meandering down there, and we will get down there. We'll have moments where we're higher. We'll have moments where we're lower. You know, going from here at $109,000, how much lower are we going to go? You know, 105 to 101,000, but like right now we could come back down a little bit, maybe to 107K, and then come back up, and then come back down. So all I'm trying to say by that is, if we see prices at 111, 112K, don't get too excited. We're probably still working our way down, and that could happen over the coming days. I wouldn't be surprised. But first, I think we do go a little bit lower before coming higher, right? I don't see any bullish implications on the 4-hour time frame. But if I'm wrong and we don't move down right now, if by the time you're watching this or by the time the day ends we're not at lower prices, if that's not what happens, then that means we've moved up. I doubt we get too much above 112K. I don't know what else to say, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.